Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to week 3 of Journey to Oneness for dating, committed dating and engaged couples. And again, I'm Kelly, and I am the assistant pastor here at Marriage and Family. Everybody knows at this point. But tonight we have LJ and Navika here to joining us to kind of help get the conversation going and to talk more about finances. We feel that this is one of the most important classes that we do. And we also find that finances is changing, like many other things in our society. There are a lot of new ways to think about it. And as you heard from, I think Ron really distinguished, he had 2 slides, old school and new school.
New school.
Which I've never heard it, called that before, but there's definitely a lot of new ideas around that. And so we're just going to kind of hash that out tonight. So, hi, Valentina.
Yeah.
You could join us. All right. Okay, well, I'm going to turn things over to Navika and LJ, let them introduce themselves, and then just kind of get us started. So guys, all welcome them.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
Hey, everybody. I'm LJ, and this is Navika.
Yep.
We've been married for 22 years. Currently, we have our own marriage ministry called Marriage Matters Today, and we do a lot of different workshops and seminars, and we do a lot of mentoring for couples. We have 3 grown daughters. She can tell you the ages.
We don't have, they're adults.
Oh. Yeah, they're grown.
Yeah, adults. We have 6 grandkids. So yeah. Yes, we are still young. Just they, want to have kids, that's their prerogative. But yeah, we've been together. We've been partnering with Vineyard now for about 5 years. Wow, time flies, but we've been partnering with Vineyard for 5 years with coaching and we're on the leadership team at Pickerington, the East Campus. And we're really glad to be here with you guys. So yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. We got a question for you though.
It's really cool to actually be with you guys on today. So one of the questions we wanted to ask, is there anybody here that has set a marriage date yet, or has the pandemic kind of changed your plans?
Chris and Aaron, you guys set a date. What's your date?
So our date is Saturday, September 4th, 2021.
Oh, that's my birthday.
Oh, word. Beyonce's birthday too.
Okay.
Anybody else? We're going to need some participation tonight too. We want you guys to jump in, be involved. If you have a question or anything while we're talking, just let us know. Hit the little raise your hand button or something other. We want you guys to participate.
I talked about.
So we already have a date. We're December 13th, 2020. Yeah, so it's coming up.
Say the date again.
December 13th.
Oh, nice.
December 13th.
Nice.
That's the day before one of our granddaughters' birthdays.
Mm-hmm. One of them.
I just like to hear these dates so I can just see like how, they're probably really significant to you guys, but I'm being a little selfish and thinking about how they pertain to me. So just indulge me.
Anybody else have a date set? Or has the pandemic changed that date for you?
Kim and Eric?
We are December 6th of this year.
Nice.
Thanks to Kelly.
Oh, yeah, thanks to COVID.
See? So did you already have a different date set?
Oh,
to Kelly.
Shelly.
Oh, okay.
Kelly.
Gotcha.
Oh.
Now, how she put you guys to go ahead and set a date?
We were May of 21.
Okay, so that's good. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah,
I got this.
She convinced us that there was no reason to wait any longer.
That's the truth, though. That is so true. She's right, 100% right there. There's no reason to wait. You know, what God brings together, He brings together. So
Covenant
make it happen.
Covenant is the best.
Yes.
It's the best. It's more about the covenant than it is the date. So, that's the most important thing. So, all right. Anybody else want to share a date, or are we going to move on now? We don't want to start no trouble. Seth
Go
and
ahead, go
Alexa.
ahead.
We're set for April 2nd.
April 2nd. Okay. That's in LJ's birthday month,
And
our
one of my
oldest
daughters,
daughter's
yep.
birthday month.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll move on. So I got another question for you guys.
Guys, we got Skylar and Abby.
Oh, I didn't see them. Okay.
Good.
Because I got them small. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
We're August 27th.
Nice. Okay.
August 27th.
So you guys, next year.
Oh,
2021.
Next year.
August 28th is our second youngest grandson's birthday.
Mhm.
See, this is so cool. Okay, yeah, we had our screen minimized, so we didn't see all the other beautiful people that was in here.
So anybody else want to share before we move on? All righty.
All right, so let's
All right. So
do this.
let me ask you guys a question. What would you guys say is one of the biggest problems in marriage today, that marriages face today? What would you guys think?
You can
that
put it
is?
in the chat or unmute yourself.
I'd rather you unmute yourself. Go ahead.
So I would say one of the biggest issues is parenting.
Parenting,
Mhm,
okay.
Mhm.
Ooh. Zach and Sarah?
Oh, I'd say unmet expectations.
Unmet expectations, okay.
Anybody else?
I muted myself. There's a really great book called What Did You Expect? If you're one of those people that loves to read books about whatever, this is about Christian marriage, and it's a great, I really highly recommend it. But
Yeah, I've seen that.
Sarah.
And both of those are really good points, guys. Unmet expectations, and also parenting is a very, very big when it comes to marriage. But upon doing a bit of research, we find out that finances is at the top. That's at the top, is that people really have a hard time dealing with, is communicating the finances.
Yeah. And that's like not just finances. Finances is a part of everyone's life, and how we in our marriages, when you get married, and how to deal with all of that. It can be overcome, but the thing about it is that you have to have open communication about it. So that's why marriages, face the problem of having the financial stress, because of there's not a lot of open communication about it.
And so with that said, we say communicate, because all arguments, all situations occur because of the lack of communication in marriage. Yeah. They all stem back to the lack of communication. So communicate about everything. Your feelings, whatever you feel, don't let that go. Season your words, get with your spouse, talk to them, and figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't learn to communicate and face finances head on, and build a solid foundation on how you view money, it will cause issues in your marriage. So you can reference back to pages 3 and 5. Oh no.
And yeah, you can, because
in the PowerPoint.
You guys have the participant guide, so you have the PowerPoint that you can refer back to, because that's part on the part of the PowerPoint. And Ron talked about it in the video. Communicating with your finances is really big, because we all come from different family origins, and so we all grew up differently when it comes to finances. So like for me, the way I didn't grow, I didn't spend a lot when I was growing up. I didn't have a lot when I was growing up. So when I got older, I tend to justify my spending because I had a great work ethic and I thought, I work hard for my money. So if the money's in the bank and my bills are paid, so I'm thinking I'm cool. So I may spend. But then when I got with LJ, I had to learn how to discuss things, which was really hard. And so when I think we have money, he doesn't think we have money because he grew up differently.
Yeah, I'm all about saving, and she is too, but she's also about spending. She sees things that I don't see, but a lot, I had to give up a lot of that, because I was really too frugal, and not wanting to spend. So I'm finding balance in that. But one of the things that even we look back on is we talk about growing up. She would tell me before that her parents, whenever they would go out to eat, they really wouldn't get them anything. So she didn't get to go out to eat a whole lot. So what she would do on her way home from work, she would go to a fast food restaurant and scarf down a meal
eat a whole
and
meal
make sure she
before I
throws
got
everything
home,
away
y'all.
before she got home.
Okay, we just gonna confess it. No. But I did do that. I did, we talked about this. It's open communication. That's what it's all about. We could talk about it now, we can laugh and things like that. But, before it was a problem, it caused us a problem because we didn't talk about the way we viewed money, or we felt like the way both of us viewed money was wrong. Like, I thought it was wrong for him to just hold on to money, and he thought it was wrong for me to want a burger, You gotta eat, right? So anyway, so you guys just, the main thing is communication. That's what you want to really just stress, that you guys come from different family origins. You grow up differently. And that's going to come out in your relationship as you merge your finances, as you get start thinking about those type of things. And you want to make sure that you're understanding where you're coming from, or your spouse is coming from. And so Jewel says, you do, oh shucks, it came out. I wanted to read it. I do that now. Sometimes my kids are like little pigeons picking out my food, and then I have crumbs left.
Hey, kids have a funny way of doing that, man. Gosh, you gotta hide everything from the kids, or they're gonna eat everything you got.
Oh,
you want to enjoy something? Nope, kids gonna get it.
Oh, but yeah, but when you guys are coming together, you're learning how to view your finances. You're learning what God says and what He expects from you when it comes to finances. And Ron talked about the ant, and I'm kind of skipping around Kelly, so just go with it. But Ron talks about the ant. Consider the ant, and one of the things that we know about ants is that in an ant colony, every ant has their job, right? They have exactly what they're supposed to do. And so, we are supposed to be good stewards of what God has given us. And He's given us everything that we need in order to create this relationship and build these finances that will glorify Him. So you got to consider yourself just like that ant, going and doing what it's supposed to do, and making the most, and building and saving, and being good stewards over the job that you've been given.
Right.
So one of the things that in your, that Ron talked about that really stood out to us is that word budget. Do you guys, if you watched the video and looked at the PowerPoint, it talks about, part of our responsibility of being good stewards is, creating a budget for your family. And one of the things that I feel like, as far as a budget, me and LJ, we talk about this, is that a budget to us is not necessarily something that is supposed to be restrictive, but it's part of your values. It's part of your, like you guys talked about protective vows last week. We consider a budget as being a boundary that is set to protect your marriage.
Right. Right. And with budgets, you know, sometimes you look at budgets and you say, a lot of people that we've talked to and we've mentored, they don't really like to work with budgets because they feel like they restrict them. But if you look at a budget and you take and you put everything that goes on in your budget, you could have your entertainment part of your budget. You can have
Your
an allowance for
allowance.
each other in a budget.
Yeah.
So, because you know, sometimes people say, well, he spends over our, you know, what we're supposed to spend. Put you guys both an allowance in the budget. Once you spend that, your own allowance, then you don't go into the budget, because sometimes people may have a lot of money, some people may not have a lot of money. But if you go outside of that budget, it will negatively affect your family in some kind of way. It could be the water gets turned off because that bill was just a little bit short, or whatever it may be, but it can affect you negatively. And if nothing gets turned off, there's still a negative effect because you went outside of that boundary, that trust boundary that you set.
Yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts or any thing to add to, or any insight to what the budget, the concept of a budget? Before we move on, we don't want to just.
Brittany put in the chat that she didn't like the word budget, but she can work with a spending plan.
Okay.
Whatever you want.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever
A spending
works.
plan. Okay.
It's
All
a
right,
harsh
that's-
word. I think it was more Richard than me, but it's a harsh word, I think, for both of us.
No, and I wonder, do you guys have any thoughts on why budget seems to be cast more in a negative light?
I'll let you answer that.
So mostly, I think because
I can't hear you, Greg.
No.
Or what's his name? Is it Brittany and Gregory, or just
Rich.
Brittany Gregory?
I don't know how to update our names on here. I have to figure that out. Sorry.
yeah, a little technical difficulties.
It's Richard, right? Is it Richard?
Richard, okay.
But because I grew up in a single
Huh, we can't hear you.
Oh.
We can hear you, Brittany,
We
but
can't
not
hear him.
Richard. That's strange.
The mic is probably far away from him.
mic on.
There you
One,
go.
two, testing, 1, 2.
You got it.
Yeah, yeah. All right, TikTok, don't stop. All right. So basically, you know, as I was saying, because I grew up mostly in like a single parent household, the word budget, there wasn't a whole lot to budget anyway. Okay, so pretty much to budget nothing is nothing. So therefore, there was no budget. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how come, you know, the word budgeting really didn't sit too well with me. But I can work with a spending plan. You know?
Yeah.
That's good. See, going right back to that family of origin.
Yeah.
That's very important. And
But it's good that you guys came to an agreement to you know, you're calling it something else so that you don't get that negative feeling behind it.
Yeah. So it works for your relationship, and that's what's important for you guys. So that's Jewel.
So for budget, I mean, I come from a very big family, and whenever I hear the word budget, it for me, it feels like less, like I have to have less in order to, you know, because I want what I want. I'm tired of sharing. I've been sharing my whole life, you know what I mean? So when it's so huge, it's just kind of like when I hear the word budget, it does bring some, you know, negative feelings or whatever that I had to get past every single time. But that's what it reminds me of. It's like having less, even though that's not really what it means. You know?
Right. And see, you got to think about two people to come together with that same mentality. You know what I'm saying? I want what I want when I want it. And if you have your money together and you don't have a budget, because you want it, and then you look at the bank.
I have a question.
Yes.
What if you're a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad? How do you find a budget with that? Like you're not bringing no income, but your spouse has all the income.
Okay.
Well, that's good because the whole thing is that this class is called Journey to Oneness. So you guys will have to, navigate from or move beyond the who's making income and who's not, because both you guys are valuable in your relationship, right? So you both are bringing something of value to the relationship. And so the money part of that has to be viewed as one. And then you guys will then, so that would be more of the mindset to push to and to move forward toward is the oneness part of what you're trying to do. And that even means oneness in your money, regardless of who's bringing in the money. LJ and I, we've had that same issue. We've had that before in our relationship where I was working and he wasn't. And so he was a stay-at-home dad.
And it wasn't a short period of time. I had got injured at work and I was off of work. I couldn't work. And, I was trying to get on BWC and they wouldn't pay me. So that's something that we really had to figure out. And I tell you, it was not easy. It was a struggle for the both of us, but we had to go to God and we prayed together and we talked together and we just communicated with one another, because my wife felt like too, sometimes that she was working, but she just couldn't get the things that she wanted. Even though she was the one who was working, the money wasn't there for her to just get what she felt like she wanted to get at the time, And so that was really tough on me. It was so tough on me as a man, period. But we had to talk with God, and God walked us through all of that. And I'm telling you, we got a story to tell. And if any of you guys want to hear any of our story, and we got some ups and we got some downs, but God walked us through all of that, we will share it with all of you. Our testimony is not just for us, it's for others also.
Yeah. So that's the thing, just moving towards and both of you guys recognizing you have equal value in the relationship, regardless of, the stay-at-home mom, come on. That's huge. That's a value that is priceless. So it does, so you guys will just you can move towards the oneness, and that's what all of this is all about. So hopefully that helped a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So
okay.
Who's next? Anyone else have anything to say before we move on? Okay. All right. So talking about the budget.
Oh, skip this part?
Oh. We talked about the secret spending a little bit. All right. So he wants to go more for secret spending. I think we did pretty good.
Well,
Kelly, what do you think? We're good. Okay. We can move on.
Okay. All right.
All right. So, just to finish up on the budget, just to give you guys a different perspective, like we were talking about, you guys going through the last week about the protective vows. A budget is kind of along the same lines. It's protecting your marriage. And we call it setting a budget is more like setting a boundary. Even if you don't say budget or you say spending plan, it's still a boundary that you're setting within your relationship to protect you from different things like secret spending and different things like that. It also, does anybody know what I mean when I say that it's a boundary? Skylar or Abby, I see you shaking your head. You wanna share what you think a boundary is in a marriage?
Yeah, so I think what you're saying when you say a budget is a boundary is like it prevents you from overspending on things that maybe aren't as important. It's like it was like you spend on what you want and then you might not be able to pay your water bill. Mm-hmm. So it safeguards you from that in that way.
That's good.
I think too, just boundaries within marriage in general, it's agree on kind of what you want for your life or how you want to live. So like the budget to spend your matters to you, and a boundary is just kind of like, oh, these are kind of protective factors we'll put in place to make sure and live the way we want, whether that's how we use our finances or our heart for people or communication
Yeah.
or whatever.
That's exactly right. You know, we call them trust boundaries because who knows, you guys know if a boundary that you said is broken, then there's trust that's broken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those boundaries being set and following those help to build trust in our marriages. And that's something that we've been through quite a bit also.
Yes, we have. Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, so a boundary is basically a line or fence that you place in your marriage that you don't cross. That it protects you from the trust wounds. It protects you from sin, and it protects you just from negative, family origins. Because again, you're going to be talking. You should be talking now about your background, your views. What do you think about this? You should be having these long conversations about family and all of this stuff so that you can see where your values are, and then you create boundaries that help you stay within your values. And so a budget to us, or spending plan, is just that, a boundary that protects us from going outside and doing things that could potentially harm our marriage,
Right.
Financially in other areas.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So when you guys set your boundaries, your boundaries and your budget, you guys have to communicate with one another, because what works for me and my wife in our budget may not work for you guys in your budget. So if there's something that you guys, there was a couple that we spoke with, and he loved energy drinks. So they set a part of the budget for him to have a little bit of money every month or every week or whatever the budget was, so that he could have a little bit of spending money for his energy drinks.
Yeah.
Now, when he spent all of that, his energy drinks were done. But whatever you guys need in your marriage, you sit down, you talk about it, and you set that budget for that to fit within your budget.
Yeah. So so then there's another thing that we talk about, going back to the ant scenario, is that, God expects us to be good stewards over what he has given us. And we want to be able to live within our means. We want to be able to set boundaries within our finances. And, we want to be good stewards, and so that we can give generously to people, right? And so one of the things that we talk about when it comes to finances is finding what we call the comparative advantage. Do I have any economic people, microeconomics, macroeconomics people in the room? So this is funny because I learned my comparative advantage through going through a macro or microeconomics class. And I was like, ask you guys this question. Who in your relationship does better with finances? Who's like the finance person? Everybody's pointing, yeah. Right, okay. So we got the finance person. Now, who in the relationship is the better cook? Okay, I see some, so I see some of this going on, like who in the relationship cleans better, is more cleanlier. Okay, so go ahead.
That's how the comparative advantage thing comes, together. So if I do the budget better, then I would do the budget and set the budget, but I would also try to include her, but in our case, she does the budget right now. So she includes me. She may get the budget together, then she'll bring me in and she'll say, hey, what do you think about this? And then we'll both agree on what she has said, or we'll make some changes to it. You know what I mean? For whatever we said. Yeah. But or if you guys both like doing the budget together, then that's something that you can do. But sometimes in our experience, my wife, she'll include me in doing the budget, but she has a mindset of what it looks like, what it's going to be like. So I might as well not be there. Really, because she already has it. It's easier for her just to do it herself than to have me saying, well, this, that, you know what I mean? But so you guys got to figure that out in your marriages yourself. But with comparative advantage, you know, she doesn't like doing laundry. I don't mind doing laundry. I do all the laundry in our household. You know, we share with the cooking and the cleaning, but there's some things that she just doesn't like doing, and I'm willing to step in there and say, okay, you know, I'll do this. And you guys may do that in your own relationships. But you think about it, you know, if I can't cook at all, and I'm saying, well, shoot, I'm gonna cook, and then she comes home to burnt everything every day, she's gonna be like, nah, bruh, you ain't cooking. I'm gonna do some cooking, you know.
Yeah, so that's basically what comparative advantage is taking your strengths and putting them together so that your household can work even more efficient. And so, you know, taking that, you could take that in every area, comparative advantage, but just for the finance part of it, you know, the person that does the finances, you got to be careful now, because sometimes the person that does the finances is kind of like the person, because now I like to spend. So when I'm doing the finances, I can easily tweak some things, right? But if you are the person that likes to save, you will do the finances to where it's like there's no wiggle room.
We broke.
Every time you know your spouse or your fiance would come to you or say something, you'd be like, oh, well, we don't have any money. Like, we just, so you have to be careful. That's why it's always good to come together at least once a month so that you can have both of you in the same room and talk about these situations. So the person that does the finances has some type of accountability.
Did you guys look in the chat? They said that everydollar.com, that's a good app for helping to build the finances.
I got that one. That everydollar.com. I think that's from the Dave Ramsey. Mm-hmm. The financial piece part of it. Speaking of financial peace, what time is it? Kelly?
Well, no, I just wanted to interject something here, or maybe just comment. What LJ and Navika said about it being important for the person who's not doing the checkbook, or, well, not doing the budget, not paying the bills, not doing all of that on a regular basis. One of the things that I like to tell couples is that even though if you're the best at it, it really is a burden to be the only one knowing how you're doing with your finances or where the money is going.
Yeah.
You need to both know what's going on. And so even if you're not the finance person, be like interested, you know, ask to be involved, ask to be shared with. It's really not healthy if you're ever in a relationship where only one person knows where the money is, where it's going, how much there is, or how much you don't have. You know, that's another thing. Maybe, I think we were going to talk about hidden debt. So that's going to mention that. But anyway, just keep in mind that you want to share that responsibility with one another.
Yeah.
Even though you might not be doing the actual keeping of the books. So
yeah, that's a really good point, Kelly, because I mean, I've been there stressing over what's there and what's not there. And I heard myself say a lot, well, you just don't understand, you know, and it was because he wasn't seeing what I was seeing. And sometimes you do feel alone at times, but and I think that is really important, especially when it comes to that open communication of knowing what you're getting yourselves into when it comes to your marriages and getting married and merging your finances, having that talk about your debt is important. A lot of times we just kind of gloss over that because we just have the hearts in our eyes, and we just want to, go forth and have that happy ever after thing going on. Well, there's a lot behind that, and if you don't communicate, the debt that you have, it could be very, it can be damaging. So we saw this story that.
Well, first off, I wanted to say, yeah, mint.com is really good.
Oh.
And you're right. Everybody needs to know about debt also, because tomorrow's not promised, and if she does all the bills and everything and knows where all the insurance stuff is and whatever, and then I don't know, it's going to be a struggle for me to try to put things together, so. But like I said, me and her, we do kind of come together and talk about those things. So we kind of both know.
There's a safe.
Yeah, we know where everything is and how all that works. But that's all of us need to know that.
Yeah, that's good, Jewel. So yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna let you do it.
There was a man. He said, "I recently found out that my fiance hid her massive debt from me for our entire relationship. I'm thinking of calling everything off and leaving. But everyone around me is saying I'm overreacting." And what it is, she had kept her school debt of $110,000 for him for 3 years. 3 years.
Yeah.
And so now
now they're about to they're engaged and going to get married, and now he found out that he's about to marry $110,000 debt.
Right.
So what would be, this is an opportunity for you guys to weigh in on, this guy's like, I think I'm about to leave. Forget this.
Now remember, he's leaving. He's thinking about leaving because he's about to get married, and his wife has hid this debt for his fiance has hid this debt for over 3 years. What would you guys do? What would any of you guys do or think? What would you say about this situation? Go ahead.
Jewel?
Well, I would first see if they would be willing to go to counseling, to see if there's some underlying factors, like maybe she was really afraid, or maybe she felt like she could handle the debt, and it wouldn't be a burden to him, or, it's still a lie, it's still, so maybe, but maybe she may have a valid reason in her mind for keeping it, and she could help him understand if he would be willing to.
Yeah.
That's good.
Anyone else? What would you do? So I like your response, Jewel, because it's not just saying I'm leaving. Because I feel like God has ordained marriage, and God is the one who brings two people together. And if it was my wife, it wouldn't be enough for me to say I'm not going to marry her, because first off, my trust is not just in her. My trust is mainly in God first. So if God brought us together and he said, this is your wife, this is my wife, regardless of how much debt she has. I'm going to go to him and I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to talk to her. Counseling, definitely, because counseling can work as long as you go with an open mindset and you're prepared to hear what the counselor has to say and then do it. Because you can go and sit down in front of the most knowledgeable person in the world, but if they can give you everything they got, but if you don't make it work, it's not going to work. It's not them, it's us. You know what I mean? So if it works, it's because you put in the work to make it work. So I wouldn't say run away from it, but I would say, we got to go to God and we got to work through that together.
I'm just distracted because I see a whole lot of y'all talking, but I don't hear no one.
A whole lot. I've seen a lot of talking.
I see y'all talking. Zach and Sarah and Skylar and Abby.
Sorry, I'm a counselor and I have a lot of clients who do just come and then they don't want to do the work outside of session. So I was making side comments to Skylar about, yes, finally someone's do the work.
Yeah, and that's how it is for us, being mentors all the time. I tell couples, I say, I think I'm more invested in your marriage than you are. We're putting in tons of work because we're concerned, we're there. every time and we're putting in everything we got and we're giving them everything we got, but they're not giving anything. So yeah, you got to put in the work.
Got to put in the work. Yeah, so I just was, I'm not, I was just picking with you guys. I wasn't trying to be funny or, I mean, I was kind of, but you know, just picking with you guys. Want to give you an opportunity to talk though. No, but yeah, like he was saying, you know, you have to do, to me, 3 years is a long time to keep a secret like that. So definitely there's a trust wound that has been opened and would have to be dealt with. I think that if I really love this person, that I'm going to work through it, because that's what marriage is all about. And you're always going to come into a relationship, if you love this person and you want to marry this person and spend the rest of your life with that person, and it's a covenant, you take the good with the bad. Jesus took us. That's I always say that. Jesus took me. And since marriage is a reflection of Christ and the church, if you want to marry this person, then you're going to do the work that it takes to overcome that type of an obstacle.
And marriage is work. You know, don't any of you guys go into marriage thinking that it's all fun and games and it's just going to be easy all the time, because it's not. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. But one of the main things that I can say is that if you go through that process and you go through it with God, that is God making you and molding you and preparing you for what he has for you. God, if we get married and we say, this isn't the one for me, I'm leaving, or I'm quitting, or I can't do this, we're pretty much telling God that he's not all knowing, he's not all caring, that he's not all trusting. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's making in you. And the word says that a 3-cord strand is not easily broken. So that's you, your spouse, your husband or wife, and God. Yeah. That 3-cord strand, it cannot easily be broken. God is strengthening that each and every day that you go through it with him.
Yeah. Good. And so you guys, you know, we encourage you to move towards oneness in your finances. You know, we encourage you to think, you know, talk to each other, openly communicate if you haven't. And think about, you know, getting a joint, you know, even if you're just moving towards, we want you to be brave enough and love each other enough to be brave and courageous and start merging in your finances together. You can gradually do it to the point to where by the time it's time to get married, you're set. Everything is together. You know, making a joint account, you know, that is something that you could do, that you guys can do even now if you have not done so. Just, you know, even if you have your own accounts right now, because obviously you haven't gotten married yet, you're still living individually but journeying to oneness. So you may take steps to getting a joint account and just start putting money in there. You guys discuss how much money you want to put in that account, and that goes into that account. Now, you don't touch it unless both of you come together and talk about what type of purchases you want to make from that account. But you want to just be brave enough and love each other enough to move towards that.
And then also schedule monthly budget meetings with one another and discuss your long and short-term savings needs and or goals. Yeah. That's really important. But like she says, start somewhere. It doesn't have to be all in all at once, but you want to start somewhere. One of the things that I always think about, and it's the word, and where it says God, when God brings two people together, they're one. Okay. So I look at when I was living on my own and I had a roommate, we shared the bills. We both had our own money. We shared the bills. We would pay whatever, you know, I'd pay out of mine, he'd pay out of his. If I had made more money than him, I'd have more money left in the end, or vice versa. But when the Bible tells me that we're one, that lets me to believe that we need to work as one. That everything that I have, everything that she has is now ours. It's not just mine. And we need to figure out how to work together and grow together along with God to make that oneness happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know,
Can I
Kelly?
just, can I, yeah, you guys are doing a great job. I just wanted to highlight that, that I think that this is what we're talking about doing physically actually is in our hearts. And that's what Navika and LJ are saying. Like, this is something that happens in my heart where I say, there's nothing I would withhold from this person that I love, that I spend the rest of my life with. Now, the difficulty comes when there's some sort of mistrust or past experiences. You know, again, self-protective vows from last week. What would make that woman not want to tell her fiance? You know, we all can imagine she was ashamed, or she thought that he wouldn't want her. There are so many things in our lives like that. But what I think about is that when I find out that I have these thoughts about or these feelings about money, and I start trying to protect the money or control the money so that it will be like I want it, I have to realize that those things are, and that's something in my heart that I need to bring to God for Him to help me with, because otherwise that oneness is kept from us. And so here's the thing, there's also the spender, the person who spends secretly. I always tell this story, I'll just say a relative, so won't give too much away, but he would go to Best Buy and buy a new surround sound system and television or a motorcycle and come home and tell his wife. And she could do nothing about it. But she did the finances and he didn't know. And, you know, I remember that kind of thing. And I thought, there's something going on behind that and underneath that, you know, that he's not saying or she's not saying. And so it's not just that the person, you know, is a bad person, or you maybe, but when you see yourself as like, Navik, I just really appreciate you confessing that, you know, it's such a small thing, it seems like, but if you find yourself doing something and hiding it, you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I know none of you guys are going to do this kind of thing, but I just really want this not to just be practical things that you're learning about, but say, what's in my heart about this?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that I'm holding there, or that was passed along to me from my family of origin? And then here's the most important question: who do I want to be? How do you want to show up in your marriage? How do you want to show up in the world? And LJ and Navika mentioned giving. Ron in the video, he talked about living below your means. You know, like I always thought, I grew up in a single parent home, paycheck to paycheck. I mean, there were times, you guys, I am not exaggerating, my mom would send me, now this puts me way back in the 70s, but 60s and 70s, she'd send me to the grocery store with a check, and I would have to ask the cashier to hold it until Friday. Like, that's how paycheck to paycheck we were. And so, you know, for me, that was just normal. But then thinking about having extra money to give away to other people, that never happened to me. You know, maybe giving to the church, I would think about that, but giving to others, that wasn't natural for me. And so something you can say, I want to be a generous person, or I really have it in my heart to give these things away. And so you have to be able to ask, what's going on? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? So
that's good. That's really good, Kelly, because, you know, I think about how this is kind of a testimony, but, you know, I think about how we didn't have a lot. I mean, we were living that paycheck to paycheck, and we were struggling. Even with our money together, we struggled some, but it wasn't until we really got our lives right and we gave our lives over to Christ and we began to start tithing, that it was like God was blessing us left and right. Left and right. It was just amazing to me how We never went without. And if we went without, it was because it was a choice for us to go without because we wanted to make better financial decisions. You know, I remember a time when we weren't together and I was living on my own and I was stuck in the check cashing cycle, you know, going to getting those cash advances at the cash advance place and, you know, loaning out my check for the next couple weeks or whatever. And I was just in this vicious cycle. I could not get out of it. And my car got repoed and I got eviction notice on my door. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this. And I remember just eating noodles and like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And that's saying a lot for me. And I had the girls too. And we just ate that. And I didn't spend a dime. And I got myself out of, you know, by the grace of God, got out of that, you know, check cashing cycle. So a lot of it is that we have to, you know, we have to take responsibility for our finances, and we have to find discipline in, you know, the things that we do. Why? Because we want to be a blessing. I don't know how many times me, LJ, and I have prayed about the Lord blessing us so that we could bless other people, because that's in our heart. And so we hope that you guys have that value as well in your heart, that you want to be found being good stewards over your finances so that you can bless other people and so that you can set the right culture and teaching for your future children or your children now. You want to be, you can do that. You have the power to do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, and with that said, another resource, practical resource that we want to share with you guys, and we'll probably let Kelly do more of this and tell you what your homework is and all that kind of good stuff after this, but is going through the Financial Peace University. LJ and I've gone through that, well, I kind of gone through it more than he did. I was like Dave Ramsey obsessed for a while there. I mean, envelopes and all that, you know, and it really, really, really helped me out. Really got me focused on just making sure we're saving and different things so that we could be in a position to where we can start giving more. So yeah, so we really encourage that you guys just pray together about your finances and consider joining the Financial Peace University so that you can, and also another thing is look into the trust, joining, you know, I think the finance ministry, we went through it, where you can get your trust done. We did that.
Yeah.
Usually
Kent
trust
Irwin.
cost a lot of money, but through Vineyard Columbus, they'll create a trust for you for free.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was amazing. We feel so grown up.
Yeah. And actually, you guys, I just today, I'm pretty sure the church is buying some sort of block so that they can offer financial peace for free.
That's awesome.
Take it. So it's
nice.
grown up like that. And so just, you know, like I thought, oh my gosh, it's just been so important in our congregation that they decided that was really going to be helpful. So you can take advantage of that. You know, I want to look at our homework here. Well, I'm going to switch over. What do you mean when you guys say a trust? It's, you know, like your will, your all the end of the things that you would want to have if something happened to you. And especially, of course, if you have children, that's important. But
yeah, all of your property.
It's a little bit better than a will, though, because it'll keep your stuff out of probate and different things like that. And they also walk with you as your family grows and you need to change different things in the will. They'll come behind you and they'll help you change those things for free still and update your trust and everything. It's something really to look into and get more information about it. Through the church finance ministry.
Yeah, and they're offering that as well. They offer that all the time. So you can look online, you'll find the ministries and contact Kent Irwin. So Let me see, is there one other thing in the chat there, or was that it? There we go. Okay. So homework, let us look at the participants guide. You guys kind of go, I'm gonna share in just a minute once I get to the beginning here. All right, so all right, everyone, can you see that? Well, I know you can, so I hope you can. This is the homework for this week. It might take you longer to do it, but it's very basic, but it will really help for each person to do this individually. So the woman has one and the man has one, but then you're going to put it together. So basically what this is doing is listing everything that every expense you have, every income you have, and also as you get through that, so we've got additional expenses, look at all those. There are so many, aren't there? Then there's a formula, you know, total income minus expenses is discretionary income. You find out what that is. Then planning ahead gives you ideas of things you might want to think about saving for. Prioritize the needs you feel are most important to you. So, I mean, if you think about sharing this, one of the things that I want to encourage you to do is to not interrupt each other when you're sharing. Just to do this with a heart, to listen and understand what's important to the other person. We realize these things can change over time, but just try to be able to share your heart with your fiance or dating partner. So, all right, then I want to watch the chat to see if there are any questions about that. So far, see, I don't have everybody up here. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Everybody's okay? When I share the screen, I can't see everyone. So there's a worksheet in your participants guide, and this is a version of the kind of worksheet that's in the inventory that we mentioned last week. So the Life in Motion Relationships Inventory. There are a couple hundred worksheets, I think, but this is one we picked out for finances, and it is about staying within the budget or spending plan or whatever we want to call it. Maybe you'll come up with a really fun name for yours. But the statement here is, I stay within our budget plan. And it also is, my girlfriend or fiance or whatever stays within our budget plan or their budget plan. And the thing that's really nice about this is you get to see if you think the same thing. Very often we will have one person say, I have a budget, and the other person says, no, we don't have a budget. So the question then is who's right and who's wrong? It probably lands in what they think a budget is. So here's where you get to talk about it. And what the idea is behind this worksheet is for you to read the scripture to one another. So this says, please meditate on the scripture below for 2 days and then answer the following questions. So here we have a scripture from Proverbs with an application, so an explanation. Not everybody has understanding of scripture or figures it out in the same way, but this can help you to talk about what you get out of the scripture, what it means to you. And then you're going to answer what key words or phrases in the scripture are relevant to you and your relationship with your dating partner or fiance. How can this scripture apply to the statement, I stay within my budget plan? Again, you're just wanting to talk about things that you maybe don't normally talk about. Then there's some principles. Here we have three principles, but then you're asked to select the one that's most relevant to you and then say, how does this apply to your life? And this kind of dialogue is what we call active listening. And when one person is talking, the other person listens. I know this sounds crazy, especially after the debate this last week, but But that's what we are going to teach, is active listening. So when the other person is talking, you're listening to understand. How many might know what it means, listen to respond? So I heard once that we have something like 10 seconds before the person starts to form their response to what we're saying. And then they're only partially listening. And so we're wanting to help couples to know what it's like to really be present to one another and to listen. The longer you're together, I think the more difficult this becomes. And so this is like a spiritual discipline that we're talking about. We're talking about the way that you respect one another, the way you're willing to say, maybe I don't have all the answers, maybe I'm not right. I really want to know how they're thinking and how they're feeling. And then hopefully what this means is that you'll both get a chance to do that. But when we're doing these worksheets, your job is to pay attention and listen, most of the time, not to confront or to hash it out, but just to say, okay, I understand what you think. I understand what you feel. And then there's discussion questions. So this kind of keeps going on. There are some great discussion questions. Did you acquire additional debt that is not reflected in your budget? It's kind of like, are there any family obligations that put additional strain on your budget? There are things that maybe you just didn't think to mention. It'll help you to do that here. Then there's a practical application from the book Journey to Oneness that you have, that you're doing your reading homework in. And read through that. Gosh, it's a long one, but maybe you want to read it out loud to one another. So maybe less is missed. But and then here's the what you do. Then you work at listening to one another again. So see where this says agreement questions or improvement questions. If you agreed on the statements all the way at the top here, I'm going back up. If you both agreed with that statement, you said yes, and you agreed with each other, that means you have an agreement. And so what about my spending habits and the way that I stay within our budget do you appreciate? So you're going to tell one another what you appreciate about what the other person is doing well. If you disagree and maybe you say, I don't, or they don't stay within their budget plan, what changes do you feel that I need to make in order to stay within our budget plan? So this is the hardest part, I think, you guys. Here's where you're asking the other person to tell you what they would like to have you to do. Doesn't mean you have to do what they say. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it. It means that you understand what they would like to have happen. Then you say, well, okay, how can I make that better? How can we work that out? And now the person has to give you 1 or 2 examples that are measurable, reasonable, and repeatable. It's not enough to say, well, you just spend too much. That's not what we're looking for here. What we're looking for here is, well, I think that it would really help if you started keeping track of what you spend on food. Or I think that what I'd like you to do is check and see how many different subscriptions you have for TV shows and movies. And maybe we can start narrowing those down together. You see, so that's something that you can know if you've done it or not. You can say, well, I don't think that's reasonable, or I don't think I can do that. And also you can keep doing it on a regular basis so you see improvement over time. And then you get to say to each other, how can this enhance our relationship? And, one person might say, I might feel like we had a better idea on where our money was going. And so then we would know how we want to plan for the future. We were talking about really difficult circumstances when there's not enough money. Maybe you guys, some of you couples have plenty, and you think, well, we want to go travel Europe, for our honeymoon. You know, I mean, you can't do that right now, unfortunately, but you know, but if you wanted, if that's your goal, then you might want to say, well, how do we want to work on our budget so that we can do that dream that we have? You know, buy that car, buy that house, whatever it is. This is about sharing your hearts with one another and listening to one another. That's what the worksheets do on the inventory. And I wanted to let you know that I think it's week 5. We're going to offer you a very condensed version of the inventory to take as a couple, just strictly around conflict resolution, which is no just. I mean, that's a biggie. And when you get this, you'll do it, and then you'll have the opportunity to talk with me about the results and do worksheets. Like, I can assign you worksheets so that you can begin doing those. If you've already met with me and you're getting coaches, or you've got coaches, you're going to be doing this with them, and they'll teach you more about that. But either way, we want everyone to have the opportunity to learn to listen to each other with an openness that says, I feel safe with you. I feel safe enough to hear your point of view and to learn together how to grow. I feel like I just did a sales speech. But tell me if you have any questions. Tell me if anything I said, you know, like struck a chord. Or has anybody done active listening before, where you say, what I heard you say was? Has anyone ever practiced that together? Well, Skylar. She's a counselor. Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Anybody else? See, yeah, well, you guys are coaches. Here's the thing. It's not natural. It's unnatural for a human being to listen and not think, you know, how am I going to get to say what I want to say? How am I going to get to share? I mean, we all do it. And so when you do this, what this is doing is slowing you down. You know, wherever you are in your relationship, you can slow down and actually say, did I really hear everything they said? I have a meme. I don't know if did I share it last week? It says that the woman says to the man, you're not even listening, are you? And the man thinks to himself, that's a weird way to start a conversation. I'm sorry, it just cracks me up. So, you know, listening, being a good listener is really the key to what we think is the key to a successful, a vibrant, a really happy, growing relationship. So you're going to find out things in doing all of this that maybe you're not doing well right now. And it's important to be able to say, okay, I want to improve. You might start out by defending yourself, but come around to saying, I want to improve in this. How can I improve? How can I make this better for you? That's where we're going to be going. Is that you can say to each other, how can I make this better for you? And again, that we will talk more about a little bit next week, but more about in week 5. So we are doing good. Anybody have anything to add? I really love it when you guys tell us what you're doing. Yeah. Remember too that these are for you. You don't have to hand these in. You know, this isn't something you're going to get graded on. This is for you to do for each other. Sometime I think next week we're going to give you time to do one in class to start it out, just to give it a chance. And I'd love your feedback on that as well next week to see if you were able to do this one. So, LJ and Navika, anything you want to add just to finish it out there? Now, they do coaching for us, so they're coaches. Maybe they have some experience. Or
well, the only thing we wanted to add before we left is just to let our couples know, it's something we tell all of our couples, is to be the one who loves the most in your marriage. Just imagine 2 people in a marriage, in a relationship, soon to be marriage, being the one to love the most.
Yeah. So just think about that as you go throughout your day and on your journey. Most of the time we are coaching marriages. So it's really cool to be able to just sit back and talk to the newbies and the oldies, but getting to be newlyweds and all of that stuff. So yeah, just be the one, wake up every day, being the one who loves the most in your relationship, keeping God first, and keeping him at the center of every decision that you make, and he's going to bless you. He's going to bless you. So
That's the truth.
Amen. Thanks for sharing, you guys. Really appreciate it. Really
Thanks for
appreciate
being
it.
here. Thank you. It was awesome. Thank you.
Just curious, how long have you guys been married?
22 years.
That's great.
Awesome.
And like I said, guys, we've got some serious ups and downs, and we share everything that we've been through. I mean, like I said, because we have our own marriage ministry, we share everything. So if you guys want to hear anything about anything we've been through, we're willing to share it.
Definitely. And you guys can always look us up on Facebook at Marriage Matters Today. It's Marriage Matters Today, or Navika and Larry Olinger. Just look us up in or Instagram. Mostly
or you can
active.
Contact me. I'll get you to them too.
There you go.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. It's time where our class time is up, but I will be on for the next 5, 10, 15 minutes if anyone has a question or wants to chat. Okay. Thanks everybody.
Thank you so
It's good to be
much.
together.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.